I sat in my chair, staring at a photograph of my late husband. Until recently, I had believed his death was nothing more than a tragic accident, an unfortunate event that no one could have prevented. But everything changed because of a photograph of a tattoo on a woman connected to his death. Tears began streaming down my face before I even realized it. I pulled his framed photograph into my arms and held it tightly. I silently vowed that I would never allow his death to remain an injustice. I had to uncover the truth and make whoever was responsible pay for what they had done. I decided I would get close to her son, uncover the truth behind everything, and make his mother answer for the crimes she had committed against my family. I was born and raised in a poor rural area of Texas. By the time I was 5 years old, I was already following my older brother around our small family farm. My childhood was difficult, but it was happy and peaceful. The person who spent those days with us was Billy. Billy lived a few houses away from ours and was one of Trevor's classmates, so we were very close. He wasn't much different from my brother and me. We were all skinny kids. Even though I was a girl, I was always active and mischievous. I played the same games as the boys, so I was always covered in scratches and bruises. Whenever that happened, I would cry loud enough for everyone around to hear. Trevor was afraid our mother would punish him, so he would scold me. The more he scolded me, the harder I cried. The one who always stood up for me was Billy. Back then, I thought he was much better than my brother. Then one day, Billy's family suddenly moved away. I was devastated. It felt as if my world had collapsed. At the time, I was still in kindergarten, while Billy was a few years older than me. I watched him climb into the moving vehicle and cried my eyes out. What I remember most clearly is his smile. Before leaving, he told me that one day, when we were older, he would come back and find me. As time passed, I grew older. Billy gradually faded into my memories. Because our town was hit by floods almost every year, my parents eventually decided to move somewhere else. Today, I am a senior at a university in Houston. My dream is simple. I want to find a stable job, get married, have children, and take care of my parents. Right now, I am in a wonderful relationship with Mark. He was 1 year ahead of me in school and had already graduated and found a job. Everyone said I was lucky to have a man who was both handsome and capable. Mark was the kind of man who knew how to be romantic. He understood me and always treated me well. Even though we didn't have much to our names yet, he always promised that he would marry me after I graduated. "Elise, over here!" I followed the voice and saw Mark waiting for me across the street. Today, he was standing beside a brand new car. I stared at it in disbelief. The street was crowded, so I had to make my way through the traffic to reach him. "Whose car did you borrow?" Mark narrowed his eyes and smiled. "It's mine. He told me his parents had sent him some money, and he had added his savings to buy it." "Do you like it?" I nodded. "Yeah, it's nice." "But?" he asked. "What's the car for? Driving me around or driving other girls around?" He raised one hand. "I swear, you're the only woman I love." I pinched his cheek. "You're all talk." He laughed. "Being good with words is how I got you to fall for me." Sitting beside him, I felt that life was peaceful. Having a man like Mark in my life was enough to make me feel content. I was a simple woman who dreamed of an ordinary future. I loved him because I loved him, not because he was handsome or successful like everyone said. "Want to go get some seafood?" Seafood was my favorite, so the moment I heard that, my eyes lit up. My treat. Mark looked at me in surprise. "Did you win the lottery or something?" "I just got paid for my latest story." Mark grinned proudly. "My girlfriend is amazing. I have to be amazing to deserve you." When we arrived at Bayou Seafood Shack, Mark pulled into the parking lot. We were regular customers, so the owner greeted us warmly. "You two are here early today." "I got out early," I replied. "The usual?" "Yes, and give my my girlfriend, some extra sides." I shot Mark a look. "You're getting ahead of yourself. Nobody agreed to marry you yet." Mark burst out laughing. "You'll be my wife sooner or later. I'm just getting used to saying it." We sat down and started eating. "This is so good. Then eat more." Just then, a luxury Mercedes pulled up outside. A man stepped out and walked into the restaurant. "I'd like 2 orders of seafood," he said. "Sure, just give me a moment." For some reason, I couldn't stop looking at him. There was something about him that caught people's attention. Mark noticed and asked, What are you staring at? Embarrassed, I quickly looked away. Nothing. A moment later, the man carried his food to a table across from us. One look at him and I could tell he came from money, yet he was eating at the same small restaurant as us. As if sensing my gaze, he suddenly looked back at me. I immediately lowered my head. Mark frowned. You've been acting strange today. No, I haven't. I pointed toward the other table. I was just looking at that guy. He ordered enough food for 2 people. Mark laughed. That's what caught your attention? What? That's a lot of food. He shook his head. Let the man eat whatever he wants. Suddenly, I felt a little self-conscious. I finished my meal as quickly as I could and left. The next day, I overslept and was running late for class. Mark had already gone to work, so he couldn't take me to campus. I usually rode my bike, but that morning I didn't have time, so I rushed outside, hoping to find a ride. I hurried toward the street, but for some reason there wasn't a single rideshare driver in sight. Just then, a black Mercedes slowly pulled up in front of me. Hey, where are you headed? Startled, I turned around. The window rolled down, and I immediately recognized the man inside. He was the same man from the restaurant the night before. My eyes widened. You? He narrowed his eyes and smiled. Do I know you? Embarrassment flashed across my face. No, why would I know you? Really? He said playfully. You look a little nervous. I glared at him. Don't you have anything better to do? Instead of getting upset, he simply smiled again before rolling up the window and driving away. I stood there muttering under my breath. What a weirdo. A few seconds later, I remembered I was already late for class. I checked the time and realized there was no point rushing anymore. I pulled out my phone and texted my best friend for help. Missing one class wouldn't be the end of the world. With that thought in mind, I slowly headed back to my apartment, crawled into bed, and went back to sleep as if nothing had happened. Time passed quickly, and the day I had been waiting for finally arrived. All the hardship I had endured over the years seemed worth it. My parents and Trevor were there to attend my graduation ceremony. After years of studying and countless days of living on instant noodles, I had finally reached this moment. The second I held my diploma in my hands, I burst into tears. Trevor rubbed my head and teased me. You're all grown up and you're still crying? I stuck my tongue out at him before turning to look at my parents. Tears were rolling down their faces. The wrinkles on their skin and the gray in their hair were proof of everything they had sacrificed for me over the years. Our daughter did it, my mother said. Now we can finally sleep peacefully. My chest tightened. At that moment, I promised myself that I would work hard and give my family a better life. Trevor laughed. Now I can finally go find a wife without worrying about paying your tuition. It was only a joke, but it hit me hard. To help me stay in school, Trevor had worked all kinds of jobs and sent me money every month. I'm sorry, I said through my tears. Because of me, you've had to work so hard. Trevor smacked my shoulder. Are you crazy? Why are you apologizing? Then he smiled. You're done with school now. Just find a good job, get married, have kids, and make mom and dad happy. I laughed through my tears. You're so annoying. Why are you always telling me to get married? I'm still young. Just then, I saw Mark hurrying toward us from a distance. He politely greeted my parents and Trevor. I'm sorry I'm late. I had an unexpected meeting this morning. My parents smiled warmly. It's okay. We're just glad you made it. Looking at the sweat on his forehead, I felt a wave of affection. Besides my parents and Trevor, Mark was one of the most important people in my life. He treated me like a princess. He wasn't rich, but to me, no wealthy man could compare to him. I loved him for his sincerity and simplicity. We understood each other so well that being together always felt effortless. Whenever people looked at us, they admired our relationship and sometimes even envied it. After graduation, I quickly started applying for jobs. Fortunately, I was hired by a company that specialized in seafood exports and offered a stable salary. My job was to work as an assistant to the CEO. On my first day, I was extremely nervous. I chose a simple blouse and a pair of dress pants, then put on a little makeup to brighten my appearance. Standing in front of the mirror, I felt everything looked fine, so I grabbed my handbag and left. When I arrived at the company, I was taken straight to the CEO's office. I had already done some research. My boss was a young man. He was very private and rarely appeared in the media, so I had no idea what he looked like. His mother, however, was very famous. Harper was the chairwoman of the company. She was highly respected and well known for her charitable work helping people in difficult situations. To me, she wasn't just someone I admired. She was someone I wanted to learn from. That was one of the main reasons I had applied for a job at this company. Standing outside the office, I knocked on the door. A deep male voice answered from inside. "Come in." I gently pushed the door open and stepped inside. The CEO was sitting with his back facing the door. "Good morning, sir. My name is Elise. I'm the new assistant. Today is my first day." The moment I finished speaking, he turned around. I froze. "Why was it him?" He smiled. "The world is a small place, isn't it? How many times have we run into each other now?" I was too shocked to answer. I never expected our paths to keep crossing like this. I quickly gathered myself and said, "Sir, I'm here to work. Please guide me if I make any mistakes." He narrowed his eyes slightly. "Okay, since you're my employee now, I expect you to take your job seriously. I'm very strict when it comes to rules. You'll need to learn all of them." Looking at him, I couldn't say I liked him very much. Still, I had finally found a job. Quitting wasn't an option. I told myself that none of that mattered. As long as I could earn money, support myself, and help my family, that was enough. "Yes, sir, I understand." Everything was new at first, and I was constantly nervous. Whenever I ran into something I didn't understand, I had to gather my courage and ask him. As time passed, it became a habit. Eventually, I learned how to handle all of my responsibilities. William was extremely demanding, but he was also professional and organized. Honestly, I respected that about him. One evening, just before the end of the workday, he looked over at me and asked, "Want to grab a coffee?" I stared at him in surprise. "You're inviting me for coffee?" A teasing smile appeared on his face. "You look pretty shocked and honored." I stood there for a few seconds, speechless at the confidence in his voice. Maybe other women liked that sort of thing, but I wasn't interested. Besides, I already had a boyfriend. Why would I go out for coffee with him? "I think you've misunderstood, sir. Tonight I'm meeting my boyfriend. You can give that honor to someone else." His eyes widened slightly. "You have a boyfriend?" "Yes. We're getting married soon." As soon as I finished speaking, I stood up and left. That night, Mark and I had plans to go out for coffee. It had been a while since we had spent time together like this. I chose a dark red dress, one of my favorite colors. It made my skin look even better. After getting ready, I stood outside and waited for him. A little while later, Mark arrived. He stared at me without blinking. "What is it? Why are you looking at me like that?" He smiled. "You look beautiful." I didn't realize my girlfriend could be this beautiful. I pouted. "You keep saying that. After we're married, you'll probably get tired of looking at me." He shook his head. "How could I? I'll love you forever." "Forever?" I teased. "Until my last breath." I smiled at him. Mark often said romantic things, but he always meant them. He was my first love, and I treasured him more than anything. He drove me to an elegant coffee shop in the city. "Wait here while I park the car." "Okay." A few minutes later, he came back, took my hand, and led me inside. I loved moments like this. I loved feeling cherished by the person I loved. Once we were seated, he ordered me a peach tea, my favorite drink. Looking at me, he smiled. "I like sitting here and looking at you." I laughed. "You're being cheesy again." He shook his head. "Lately, I've been feeling uneasy for some reason. Every day after work, all I want to do is come see you." I knew he liked saying sweet things, but I loved hearing them. I lifted my drink and looked at him. "I feel the same way. I like looking at you too." We sat there smiling at each other. After a while, Mark stood up. "Stay here for a minute. I'll be right back." I nodded. "Okay." A short time later, he returned holding a beautiful bouquet of flowers. Soft music began playing through the cafe. My eyes widened in surprise. Then he knelt down in front of me. Every person in the cafe turned to look at us. "Will you marry me?" Happiness filled my heart. Mark took my hand and slipped a ring onto my finger. Tears gathered in my eyes as I answered, "Yes, I'll marry you." I felt completely overwhelmed with happiness. The people around us applauded and congratulated us. As I looked around the cafe, my eyes suddenly met William's. He was sitting alone in a corner, quietly drinking coffee. Embarrassed, I quickly looked away. The next day, I went to work as usual. The moment I stepped into the office, William said, "I thought you might be so caught up in love that you'd forget to come to work." I looked at him and replied, "I'm very serious about my job. Work always comes first." "Good," he said. "I was worried you might let your personal life affect your work. Don't worry, sir. I'll do my job well." He was quiet for a moment before speaking again. "You don't look like someone who would end up with such a good boyfriend." I looked at him in surprise. What was that supposed to mean? When two people fall in love, they see each other's beauty. Outsiders don't always understand that. After saying that, I stopped talking to him and returned to my work. As time passed, Mark and I became even more certain about our future together. Both of our families began urging us to get married, and we decided it was time to start preparing for our wedding. Mark and I traveled back to Texas to visit his family. After everything went well, we returned to Houston and began making plans for the wedding. We eventually decided to hold the ceremony at a hotel to make everything more convenient. Today was probably one of the happiest days of my life. Mark and I had made plans to try on wedding outfits and take our wedding photos. My future wife is going to look beautiful in a wedding dress. I leaned against his chest and smiled. "Whether I'm beautiful or not, I'm still going to be your wife." He looked at me affectionately and gently kissed my cheek. "Even if I die one day, I'll always love you." I quickly covered his mouth with my hand. "Why would you say something like that?" He smiled. "Everyone dies eventually. I was just making an example." Then he laughed. "Don't worry. I'll stick to you for the rest of my life." I couldn't help laughing at his words. After talking for a while, we arrived at the bridal studio. "Let's go." "Okay." As soon as we walked inside, one of the employees warmly greeted us. "Please come this way. We'll help you try on the outfits." She led me to a fitting room and brought me several wedding dresses. I wasn't sure whether it was because of the dress or because of my figure, but when I looked at myself in the mirror, I felt like a completely different person. "You look beautiful." My cheeks turned red with embarrassment. "You're flattering me." "I'm telling the truth." The employee smiled as she pulled back the curtain. The moment I stepped out, Mark stared at me without saying a word for several seconds. "My wife is beautiful." My eyes sparkled as I looked at him. "And you're the prince of my dreams." At that moment, I felt completely happy. I was loved, and I was about to marry the man I loved. I couldn't imagine anything better than that. We had finished about half of our photo session when my stomach suddenly started growling. I felt so hungry that my whole body seemed weak. "Mark, I'm starving." He immediately helped me sit down. "Then rest for a minute. I'll go across the street and buy you something to eat." "I'm causing you trouble again." He gently tapped my forehead. "Don't be silly. It's no trouble at all." Then he smiled. "I'd do anything for you." I frowned. "There you go again. I don't like hearing things like that." He laughed. Okay. I won't say it anymore." After that, he quickly headed toward the exit. One of the employees smiled at me. "Your fiancé is handsome and sweet." A happy smile appeared on my face. "Thank you. He's also very kind." "That's wonderful," she said. "A woman is lucky to have a husband like that." I sat and talked with the employee for a while, but Mark still hadn't come back. Why was it taking him so long just to buy a sandwich? The employee looked at me and said, "The store is probably busy." I felt increasingly uneasy. I walked over and poured myself a glass of water. Suddenly, the glass slipped from my hand and shattered on the floor. Embarrassed, I quickly apologized. "I'm sorry. That was careless of me." The employee smiled kindly. "It's okay. I'll clean it up. If you cut your hand, the photos won't turn out well." "Thank you." I turned and started walking back toward my seat when another employee rushed in through the door and shouted, "Everyone! There was an accident in front of the sandwich shop. A man was hit by a car." I heard he died at the scene, and the driver ran away. The moment I heard those words, my legs nearly gave out beneath me. A terrible feeling came over me. Mark had gone to buy food and still hadn't returned. I quickly pulled out my phone and called him. The call wouldn't go through. My voice shook as I asked, "Was the man young?" "Yes," the employee replied. "I heard he was young. Someone said he had just bought a sandwich." My whole body went cold. I looked at the employee beside me. She seemed to understand immediately. "Let's go take a look." I nodded and ran outside. A large crowd had already gathered. My heart felt as if it had stopped beating. I pushed through the people and finally saw him. Mark was lying motionless on the ground, wearing his black suit. Blood surrounded him. The sight shattered me. I stumbled toward him, dropped to my knees, and wrapped my arms around him. "Why? Why is it you?" I screamed. My white wedding dress was stained red. The people around us wiped away tears as they watched. I cried until my voice gave out. Then everything went dark. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself lying in an unfamiliar room. IV bags hung above me, and my parents and Trevor were sitting nearby. "Elise, you're awake." My mother rushed to my side. "You've been unconscious all day. As soon as we heard what happened, we flew here." Her voice pulled me back to reality. The image of Mark immediately appeared in my mind. I cried out, "Where's Mark? Where is he?" My mother wrapped her arms around me and sobbed, "Please calm down. Mark has gone to a peaceful place. You have to accept it." I shook my head violently. No, it can't be true. We haven't even gotten married yet. We promised we would spend our whole lives together. How can he leave now?" Panic took over. I ripped the IV needle from my hand and tried to run out of the room. My parents and Trevor rushed after me and held me tightly. We collapsed together, crying. "Elise, please don't do this," my father said. "You're breaking our hearts. Everyone has their fate. Let Mark rest in peace." The pain inside me was unbearable. It felt as if something was tearing me apart from the inside. I couldn't understand why this had happened. Why had God given so much pain to people who had done nothing wrong? Why had Mark left at the very moment we were about to start our future together? Those questions kept circling in my mind. Exhausted, I lost consciousness again. Through the haze, I heard a doctor speaking. "She's pregnant. Please help her stay calm. Too much stress could affect the baby." I forced my eyes open and looked toward the doctor. "Doctor, did you just say I'm pregnant?" My mother quickly took my hand. "Thank God you're awake again." "Yes, sweetheart, you're about a month pregnant." The doctor looked at me kindly. "Your body is very weak right now. If you continue pushing yourself like this, it could affect the baby. The best thing you can do is rest, eat properly, and take care of yourself. What happened has already happened." I said nothing. My eyes drifted toward the door. My child hadn't even been born yet and had already lost a father. What could be more painful than that? "Listen to the doctor," my mother said softly. "I'll go get you something to eat." Tears rolled down my face as I nodded. "Okay." Because Mark's parents wanted him cremated in Houston before bringing his ashes back to Texas, I waited until I felt a little stronger before speaking again. "Mom, Dad, please take me to see Mark. I want to be with him one last time." My parents exchanged sorrowful looks. "You're still weak. We're afraid you won't be able to handle it." I wiped away my tears. "I may not be well, but I'm still alive. Mark isn't. Please. He's waiting for me." My mother broke down, crying, and finally nodded. "Okay, we'll take you." I left the hospital with a heavy heart. The moment I arrived and saw Mark's portrait and his casket, all the strength left my body. In one corner, Mark's parents sat there in silence, looking completely lost. There was probably nothing more painful than losing a child. My tears had nearly run dry. I didn't even have the strength to cry anymore. When my friends saw me, they gathered around and hugged me. "Stay strong, Elise. We care about you." I slowly walked toward the casket and fell to my knees. "You're so cruel," I sobbed. "Why did you leave me behind? We promised to grow old together. We promised we'd spend our lives side by side. Now I'm the only one left." My voice broke. "How am I supposed to live without you?" The sound of Mark's parents crying made the atmosphere even heavier. No one who witnessed that scene could hold back their tears. I didn't know how long it would take for the pain inside me to fade. A few days later, the funeral came to an end. I was sitting alone looking through the photos Mark and I had taken together when my phone suddenly vibrated. It was a message from William. "Are you okay?" When I heard the news, I couldn't believe it. "I'm sorry for your loss. Please stay strong. Take as much time off as you need. Come back to work whenever you're ready." I read the message, but I didn't have the energy to reply. I felt empty inside. I couldn't see a future anymore. I had wanted to travel back to Texas with Mark's family, but my health was still weak, and the doctor advised me not to travel because of the baby. Besides, I was still waiting for the results of the investigation into the driver who had hit Mark and fled the scene. While I was lost in thought, Trevor opened the door and walked in. The police just called. They said the driver who hit Mark turned himself in. I immediately sat up and grabbed his arm. Really? Where is he now? He's at the police station. Can you take me there? Trevor looked worried. I'm afraid you'll get too emotional. It could affect your health. I looked at him firmly. I'll stay calm. I just need to see him. He nodded. Then get dressed. I'll wait for you. We went straight to the police station. Sitting inside was a middle-aged man who looked worn down by life. His hands were shaking as he spoke with one of the officers. The moment he saw me, his face turned pale. I was filled with anger and grief, but I forced myself to stay calm and took a seat. When everything was finished, the man walked over to me and suddenly dropped to his knees. I'm sorry, he said over and over again. Because of me, your husband is gone. If killing me would make things right, then do it. I've regretted it every day. This was the man responsible for Mark's death. I stared at him and asked, why did you run away after the accident? You should have stopped. You should have checked on him. At least then our family wouldn't have suffered this much. His entire body shook. His pale lips trembled as he struggled to answer. I was terrified. I wasn't thinking clearly. All I could think about was running away from my responsibility. I looked directly into his eyes. That was a human life. Do you understand that? He lowered his head. I know. The anger inside me finally exploded. Then why don't you die and give Mark his life back? Trevor immediately stepped forward and wrapped his arms around me. Elise, calm down. Crying and screaming won't change anything. Let the police do their job. We should go home. Then he lowered his voice. Don't forget you're pregnant. You can't keep upsetting yourself like this. The moment he mentioned my baby, I slowly calmed down. I nodded and wiped away my tears. You're right. Let's go home. Sometime later, the trial finally took place. The sound of Mark's parents crying broke my heart all over again. The man responsible for the accident stood before the court with guilt written all over his face. In the end, the judge sentenced him to 3 years in prison. After the hearing was over, I quietly stood up, holding Mark's portrait in my arms. Maybe somewhere beyond this world, he was still watching over us with a smile. Life was truly fragile. One day everything could be perfect, and the next day it could all disappear. The words of encouragement from both families gave me strength. I wasn't the only one suffering. Everyone who loved Mark was carrying the same pain. After everything that had happened, I finally realized how precious life was. I couldn't spend the rest of my life trapped inside my grief. I still had a child growing inside me. I still had responsibilities. I still had a future to build. As the months passed, my baby continued to grow. I knew I had to become stronger for my child. Little by little, I pushed the pain aside and began a new chapter of my life. I returned to work and focused on moving forward. I wanted to live well so that Mark could rest in peace. A familiar voice called out from behind me. Elise! I turned around and saw William. Good morning, sir. Today is my first day back. I hope you'll continue to guide me. William nodded. Of course. The company is always happy to have you back. I didn't say anything else and quickly went inside. By lunchtime, I felt exhausted. I didn't even have the energy to go eat. You're not going to lunch? William asked. I'm a little tired. I just want to rest for a while. He looked at me carefully. Why do you look so pale? I answered honestly. I'm pregnant. The expression on his face changed immediately. He stared at me for a long moment before quietly leaving. At that point, I wasn't thinking about him. I leaned back in my chair and closed my eyes. A while later, I heard a knock on the door. William walked in carrying a cup of water and a container of hot porridge. You should eat something. If you keep skipping meals, the baby won't develop properly. I looked at him in surprise. He was usually distant and hard to approach, yet now he was treating me with such kindness. I stared at him as if I were looking at a stranger. He seemed to know exactly what I was thinking. Just eat. You're my employee. Taking care of my employees is part of my responsibility. Don't read too much into it. Embarrassed, I quickly looked away. Thank you. I'll eat it later. You don't have to buy things for me like this anymore. Before I could finish speaking, he had already left. Time continued to pass. The baby in my belly grew day by day. Even though Mark was gone, his parents continued to care for me as if I were their own daughter. With the love and support of everyone around me, I did my best to keep moving forward. After 9 months and 10 days, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. The moment everyone saw him, they burst into tears because he looked so much like Mark. Tears rolled down my cheeks. If Mark had still been alive, we would have been so happy in that moment. Mark's parents looked at me with affection. You're a good woman, Elise. You deserve to be loved and cared for by everyone. 3 years later, Kevin, slow down or you're going to fall. In the blink of an eye, the little baby I once carried in my arms was now running around faster than I could keep up with. Kevin, you're here too? William's voice came from ahead of us. I stopped and looked up. Yes, sir. We came together, Kevin replied, pointing at me. I lowered my head politely. Hello, sir. Are you shopping too? William smiled. Yes. And when we're not at work, you don't have to call me, sir. It makes us sound so distant. I stayed quiet. Over the past few years, William had always shown me special attention. I thought it was simply a boss caring about one of his employees. Almost every week, he would stop by my apartment to spend time with Kevin. Do you like this? William asked, picking up a toy. I'll buy it for you. Kevin's eyes lit up. I like it. I immediately stopped him. Kevin, you already have plenty of toys at home, but I really like this one. William smiled. It's okay. Kids get tired of toys after a while anyway. Everything eventually becomes old. Kevin and William were extremely close. Maybe it was because Kevin had grown up without a father, but he always became excited whenever William came around. Uncle William, can you come to my house tonight? Kevin asked. Can you play building blocks with me? William looked at me before answering. I'll need your mom's permission first. Kevin immediately ran over and grabbed my hand. Mom, can Uncle William come over tonight and play with me? I tried to sound firm. No, Uncle William has work to do. Kevin turned to William. Do you have to work tonight? William shook his head. No, I don't work at night. Kevin immediately looked back at me. See? You weren't telling the truth. Please let Uncle William come over tonight. In the end, I had no choice but to agree. That evening, William arrived early. He brought a large amount of food for Kevin and me. After dinner, he spent some time playing with Kevin. Eventually, Kevin became sleepy and went to bed. William, however, showed no sign of leaving. You should go home and get some rest, I told him. You still have work tomorrow. He looked at me and asked, Can I stay a little longer? Why? Kevin is already asleep. He was silent for a moment before speaking. I don't know why, but I really enjoy being around you. I immediately cut him off. Stop. I don't want to hear this. William kept looking at me. Then he stepped forward and wrapped his arms around me. What are you doing? Let go of me. The more I struggled, the tighter he held me. Just let me hold you for a moment. Why do you always avoid me? Why do you keep rejecting my feelings? His voice was low. I've spent 3 years trying to win your heart. You know that, don't you? My face grew hot. I tried to pull away from him. What are you talking about? Do you really not understand? Or are you pretending not to? He asked. I've stayed single all this time because of you. I like you, Elise. His confession threw my thoughts into chaos. I never imagined a man like William would have feelings for a single mother like me. Have you lost your mind? I said. Are you making fun of me? He looked directly into my eyes. I love you. I really do. Please give me a chance. Before I could react, he lowered his head and kissed me. Anger exploded inside me. I slapped him across the face. I'm sorry, but I can't do this. I'm a single mother. My husband hasn't been gone that long. I can't do something that would make me feel guilty toward him. Please leave. I need to sleep. And if you keep forcing me like this, I'll quit my job. William immediately let go of me. I'm sorry. I got carried away. I promise I won't do anything that scares you again. He took a deep breath. I'll wait for you. I'll wait until the day you accept my feelings. After saying that, he turned around and left. Alone in the apartment, I suddenly felt an emptiness I couldn't explain. It seemed that somewhere inside me, I had already begun to develop feelings for him. I cleaned up the apartment, then went to bed. 3 years had passed since the accident. One day, I heard that the man who had caused Mark's death had been released from prison. Not long after that, another piece of news reached me. He had died. The official report said it was an accident, but something about it didn't feel right. A few days later, a woman came to my apartment looking for me. She introduced herself as the driver's wife. Her face looked exhausted, as if life had drained every bit of strength from her. "Mrs. Elise, I know this may sound strange, but there are things you deserve to know." I invited her inside. After sitting down, she began telling me everything. According to her, their daughter had been diagnosed with leukemia years ago. The treatment was expensive, far beyond what their family could afford. They had been desperate, trying every possible way to save her. Then one day, someone suddenly appeared and offered them a huge amount of money. In exchange, her husband only needed to take responsibility for a traffic accident. At first, they refused. But later, when doctors said their daughter needed treatment in Singapore and the costs would be impossible to cover, everything changed. "My husband kept saying he didn't know what to do," she said, wiping her tears. Then one day, a large amount of money appeared. It was enough to pay for our daughter's treatment. I sat frozen. "What do you mean?" She looked straight at me. "My husband told me he wasn't the one who caused the accident." My heart sank. He said someone paid him to take the blame. The room fell silent. He served 3 years in prison. During those 3 years, money kept arriving every month. Enough for our daughter to continue her treatment. I tightened my grip around the cup in my hands. If that's true, why didn't he tell the police? He was afraid. Her voice broke. He said the people behind this were powerful. He believed that if he spoke up, our entire family would be in danger. The more I listened, the colder I felt. Everything I had believed for the past 3 years suddenly began to crack. The woman slowly reached into her purse and pulled out an old photograph. "My husband gave me this before he died." I took the photo. It showed part of a woman's wrist. Wrapped around it was a red and black snake tattoo. "He told me that if anything happened to him, I should find you and give you this." I stared at the tattoo. "Do you know who this woman is?" She shook her head. "No. He never told me." For a long time, neither of us spoke. Finally, she stood up. "If I learn anything else, I'll contact you." Before leaving, she gave me her phone number and address. Then she quietly walked out the door. A few days after that woman visited me, I was scrolling through the news during a break at work when a headline caught my attention. My entire body went cold. The woman who had come to see me was dead. The article said she had fallen from a building and that the police believed it was suicide. I stared at the screen for a long time. Something felt wrong. Just days ago, she had come looking for me. She had been determined to uncover the truth behind her husband's death. Why would she suddenly take her own life? The more I thought about it, the more frightened I became. If someone really was trying to silence people, then Kevin and I could be in danger too. "What are you looking at?" William's voice suddenly came from beside me. I quickly put my phone away. "Nothing." He studied my face. "You don't look okay." "I'm fine." William pulled out a chair and sat down across from me. "Let's go get coffee after work." I shook my head. "No, thank you." "Why not?" "Because I don't want people getting the wrong idea." Before William could respond, a woman's voice interrupted us. "William." I looked up and saw a beautiful woman walking toward us. She was dressed elegantly and carried herself with confidence. She walked straight over and slipped her arm through William's. Then she turned toward me and smiled. "Hi, I'm Madison." I politely nodded. "Nice to meet you." Madison smiled again. "I'm William's girlfriend." I glanced at William. His face immediately darkened. "Madison, stop saying things like that." "Why?" she asked. "It's only a matter of time." I suddenly felt uncomfortable sitting there. Whatever relationship existed between them wasn't my business. I stood up and grabbed my bag. "I have something to do, so I'll head out first. You two enjoy your conversation." After that day, William kept trying to explain what had happened with Madison. Every time he brought it up, I acted as if I didn't care. The truth was that I really didn't think it was any of my business. One afternoon, William stopped me outside my office. "Elise, can we talk?" "About what?" "About Madison," I sighed. "William, whether she's your girlfriend or not has nothing to do with me." He looked frustrated. She's not my girlfriend. Okay, I'm serious. Okay. The more indifferent I sounded, the more irritated he became. He stepped closer. Why are you acting like this? I looked directly at him. Because we're nothing more than a boss and an employee. That's all we've ever been. William went quiet. For a few seconds, neither of us spoke. Then, without warning, he grabbed my arm and pulled me toward him. William! I immediately tried to step back, but he refused to let go. Look at me. His voice was low and firm. I've spent years caring about you. I've spent years waiting for you. Do you really not feel anything? My heart suddenly became restless. I hated admitting it, but hearing those words affected me. You shouldn't be saying these things. Why not? He asked. Because I mean every word. I looked away, unable to meet his eyes. William gently lifted my chin. I know you're afraid. I know you still can't forget Mark. But that doesn't change how I feel. For the first time, I couldn't immediately push him away. Standing so close to him, I could hear every word clearly. I could see the seriousness in his eyes. Looking at that face, my heart would not stop racing. One afternoon, I received a phone call from Harper. My hands became slightly tense the moment I heard her name. This was the first time the chairwoman of the company had contacted me directly. She asked me to meet her at a coffee shop. After hanging up, I couldn't stop wondering why she wanted to see me. When I arrived, Harper was already sitting there. She looked elegant and composed as always. Sit down. I politely greeted her and took a seat across from her. Before I could say anything, Harper threw a stack of photographs onto the table. The pictures scattered in front of me. They were photos of William and me. Some were taken at the office. Some were taken outside. My face immediately changed. Harper looked at me coldly. I underestimated you. I frowned. I'm not sure what you mean. She let out a mocking laugh. Don't play innocent with me. You're a widow with a child, yet you've managed to make my son fall for you. My hands slowly tightened beneath the table. Mrs. Harper, you've misunderstood. Misunderstood? Her voice grew sharper. Do you really think someone like you belongs in our family? Every word felt like a slap across my face. I have never tried to get close to William. Harper stared at me. I don't care whether you did or not. What matters is that you stay away from him. The atmosphere between us became suffocating. Starting today, you're fired. I looked at her in disbelief. What? You heard me. She leaned forward slightly. Leave my company. Leave my son. If you have any dignity left, disappear from his life. My chest felt heavy, but I forced myself to remain calm. Just as I was about to stand up, Harper reached for her coffee. The sleeve of her blouse slid upward. My eyes instantly froze on her wrist. There, wrapped around her skin, was a red and black snake tattoo. The exact same tattoo I had seen in the photograph given to me by the driver's wife. My breathing stopped for a moment. Harper noticed my stare and quickly lowered her sleeve. But it was too late. I had already seen it. 1,000 thoughts rushed through my mind. The tattoo, the dead driver, the dead driver's wife, Mark's accident. Could all of it somehow be connected? I left the coffee shop in a daze. There was only one thing on my mind now. I had to uncover the truth behind that snake tattoo. The next morning, I received the official notice from the company. I had been terminated. Surprisingly, I wasn't angry. After everything that had happened, losing my job felt insignificant compared to the questions that now filled my mind. If Harper was connected to Mark's accident, then being fired was only the beginning. I spent the day updating my resume and searching for new job opportunities. That evening, someone knocked on my door. When I opened it, William was standing outside. His face looked exhausted. Can we talk? I hesitated for a moment before stepping aside. William walked in and remained silent for several seconds. Finally, he spoke. I'm sorry. I looked at him. Sorry for what? For not protecting you. A bitter smile appeared on my lips. You don't owe me anything. He shook his head. You were fired because of me. My mother pressured the company. I tried to stop her, but I couldn't. I wasn't surprised. After what had happened at the coffee shop, I had already guessed the truth. William lowered his head. I never wanted any of this to happen. It already happened. My voice remained calm. There's no point talking about it anymore. He looked at me with pain in his eyes. Elise, I love you. I closed my eyes for a moment. Hearing those words no longer shocked me. The problem was that I didn't know what to do with them. William, please let me finish. He stepped closer. I don't care that you have a child. I don't care about your past. I just want a chance to be with you. I slowly shook my head. That's exactly why we need to stop this. His expression stiffened. What do you mean? Your mother will never accept me. And right now, I have more important things to worry about than love. He stared at me. You're still investigating Mark's accident, aren't you? I didn't answer. The silence was enough. William took a deep breath. Then let me help you. No, I immediately refused. The less involved you are, the better. Elise, please. I looked directly into his eyes. This is my problem, not yours. For a long moment, neither of us spoke. Finally, William nodded. The disappointment in his eyes was impossible to hide. He slowly turned and walked toward the door. Before leaving, he stopped for a second. No matter what happens, if you ever need me, I'll be there. Then he left. I closed the door and leaned against it. The apartment suddenly felt very quiet. But this time, my thoughts were clear. My job was gone. My relationship with William had reached another dead end. None of that mattered anymore. What mattered was finding the truth. I looked at the photograph of the snake tattoo once again. Somewhere behind that symbol was the answer to everything that had happened to Mark, and I would not stop until I found it. The next day, I went straight to the police station. Hello, officer. I'd like to request that my husband's accident case be reopened. I believe there may be something suspicious behind it. After listening to me, the officer pulled out a file and reviewed it. I'm sorry, ma'am. This case was closed a long time ago. The person responsible already served his prison sentence. He looked up at me. My advice is to let it go. I shook my head. But I feel like there's something hidden behind this case. The officer stared at me for a moment. The law doesn't work based on feelings. If you want us to reopen the investigation, you'll need clear evidence. I lowered my head and slowly stood up. Then I'll find evidence and bring it back to you. After leaving the station, I felt unsettled. Should I continue or stop here? The road ahead would be difficult and dangerous. Then the image of the snake tattoo suddenly appeared in my mind. My eyes lit up. That was it. Everything had to start with that tattoo. I had to find justice for Mark and uncover the truth behind the deaths of the driver and his wife. As I thought about it, William came to mind. The only way to get close to Harper was through him. Once I made up my mind, I immediately pulled out my phone and sent William a message. Hi, can we meet tonight? On the other side, William replied almost instantly with a heart emoji. Are you not mad at me anymore? I'm so happy. I'll be there soon. I looked at the screen and typed back. Okay, I'll be waiting. That night, William came to my apartment carrying a bouquet of fresh flowers. Looking at him, I felt a little guilty. Aren't you afraid of your mother finding out? William smiled. If I were afraid, I wouldn't be here. He looked at me warmly. When I saw your message, I was so happy. For a moment, I didn't know what to say. He held the flowers out to me. These are for you. From now on, I want to be by your side and take care of you and Kevin. I accepted the flowers. Thank you. Come in. From that day on, William and I spent more and more time together. No matter how difficult things became or how much I suffered, I couldn't give up. I had to find the truth. Only then could Mark finally rest in peace. 3 days later, I finally agreed to be William's girlfriend. Because he cared so much about us, William arranged for Kevin and me to move into a house near his. Being cared for and loved like that sometimes made my heart soften. Many times, I wanted to tell William everything. I wanted to tell him why I had really gotten close to him. But every time I thought about Mark and my son, I stopped myself. What are you thinking about? William asked one evening. Nothing, I replied. Just random thoughts. He smiled and gently held my hand. Just focus on being happy. I'll make up for everything you've been through. I lowered my eyes. But your mother will never agree, William answered without hesitation. Don't worry. She's a good person. Eventually, she'll understand us. A few days later, I was coming home from work. Just as I was about to unlock the door, a black car pulled up beside me and stopped. The door opened, and Harper stepped out. The look in her eyes was enough to make anyone uncomfortable. You're even more stubborn than I thought, she said coldly. I lowered my head. "Hello, ma'am." She lifted her chin toward the door. "Open it. We're going inside to talk." Pretending to be nervous, I fumbled with the keys and unlocked the door. "Yes, ma'am." The moment we stepped inside and I set my bag down, a sharp pain exploded across my face. Harper had slapped me. "You shameless woman. How dare you seduce my son?" I held my cheek and burst into tears. "I'm sorry, ma'am. I thought I could stay away from him. I really did. But our feelings for each other are too strong. Please have mercy on us. Please don't separate us." Another slap landed across my face. It hurt, but I forced myself to endure it. There was a time when I admired this woman. I had once seen her as a role model and worked hard because I wanted to become someone like her. But looking at her now, I wondered if I had been wrong all along. Was all of her charity work nothing more than a mask? "Stop dreaming," Harper snapped. "I will never approve of this marriage." She pointed at me. "You're educated. You should know better. Why are you clinging to my son?" Then she pulled out a thick stack of cash and threw it into my face. The bills brushed against my skin as they scattered onto the floor. I almost cried. "Please take your money back," I said quietly. "I'm poor, but I won't sell my dignity for money. I love William because I love him, not because of his wealth or status. Feelings aren't something that can be controlled. I hope you can understand that." My words did nothing to change her mind. Harper turned around and walked out. I sat there alone, feeling completely drained. No matter what happened, I had to keep going. That night, William was later than usual. I was about to call him when the doorbell rang. I let out a sigh of relief and hurried to open the door. "Why are you so late?" William smiled apologetically. "I had something I needed to take care of." Then he looked at me with concern. "Have you eaten yet?" I pouted. "No, I was waiting for you so we could eat together." He wrapped his arms around me. That simple moment filled me with warmth. For a brief second, I forgot everything else. I found myself wanting a future with him. I wanted a home. I wanted a family. I wanted children. But reality quickly pulled me back. My chest tightened. William and I could never truly walk the same path. Our worlds were too different. "Come inside," I said softly. "I'll set the table." William leaned forward and kissed my cheek. "I love you so much." Embarrassed, I gently pushed him away and walked into the kitchen. After dinner, I took out the stack of cash Harper had thrown at me and placed it in front of him. "Take this back to your mother. She came here today and told me to leave you." The sadness in William's eyes was immediate. She already said the same thing to me. I looked at him. "And what did you tell her?" He didn't hesitate. "I'll do whatever it takes to be with you." His voice grew firmer. We had a huge argument. I told her I was willing to give up everything if it meant staying with you. Hearing that made my heart ache. If William ever learned that I had approached him because of my investigation, he would be devastated. "I'm causing trouble between you and your mother," I said quietly. "Maybe we should break up. I don't want you to become an ungrateful son because of me." William immediately grabbed my hand and held it tightly. "Even if people call me ungrateful, I don't care. Just don't let go of my hand. Let me handle everything else." My throat tightened after hearing those words. Ever since Mark died, I had believed my heart would never belong to anyone again. Yet here I was, affected by William more and more each day. Maybe fate was being cruel once again. I didn't know how much longer I could keep my emotions separate from my mission. I looked at him and forced a smile. "Don't worry. I won't let go of your hand. Let's keep trying together." William smiled with relief. "Thank you. That means everything to me." After William had been living with me for a while, Harper finally gave in and came to see me again. "Hello, ma'am," I greeted her politely. She looked at me with open contempt. "You must be very proud of yourself. You successfully seduced my son." I kept the same nervous expression on my face. "I don't understand what you mean." Harper's voice grew harsher. "I hate women like you. Manipulative, calculating, cruel." I lowered my head. "If that's what you think of me, then I'll accept it. But please, just tell me why you're here." The anger in her eyes became even more obvious. "You're good," hiding behind that innocent face. She took a deep breath before continuing. "I've come to discuss a few things with you." "Please go ahead." Harper looked at me coldly. "For the sake of the company's future, I've decided to allow you and William to get married." I remained silent and listened. But you'll only be his wife in name. Don't expect anything else. She pointed a finger at me. And let me make this clear. There will be no grand wedding, no celebration, no recognition from our family. If you want to marry him, you'll move in quietly like a stray dog. Every word was meant to humiliate me, but I refused to let it affect my goal. I lowered my head respectfully. Thank you, ma'am. I'll do as you ask. As long as I can be with William, that's enough for me. Harper let out a cold laugh. A woman like you will never find happiness. Then she turned around and left. The moment the door closed behind her, a smile slowly appeared on my face. The first stage of my plan had finally succeeded. The way William and I got together so suddenly was something my parents and Trevor never fully accepted. It wasn't because they disliked William. They simply wanted me to have a proper wedding and a peaceful marriage after everything I had been through. But under the current circumstances, I had no choice but to go against their wishes. I couldn't bring William home to introduce him to everyone yet. One evening, William noticed that I seemed distracted. "Are you upset about something?" he asked. I rested my head against his shoulder. "Just a little. But when I'm with you, I feel happy." William gently ran his fingers through my hair. "What if I gave up everything and moved back to your hometown with you? We could live a simple, peaceful life." I immediately sat up and looked at him. "Don't say that," William frowned. "Why not? Your mother has finally agreed to our relationship. Things are already difficult enough. You shouldn't throw everything away." William let out a quiet sigh. "You always think about other people before yourself." Then he smiled. "You're such a good woman." A few days later, while discussing our future, William asked, "After we get married, should we move out and live on our own?" There was no way I could agree to that. The only reason I had gotten close to William in the first place was to get closer to Harper. If we moved away, everything I had worked for would become meaningless. I carefully chose my words. "I don't think that would be a good idea." "Why?" William asked. "She's still your mother, and she'll be my mother-in-law. If we live together, maybe she'll get to know me better. Maybe one day she'll accept me." William listened quietly. The more he thought about it, the more reasonable it seemed. "I'm just afraid you'll be treated unfairly." I smiled and gently placed my hand against his cheek. "I'm already happy. No matter how much I have to endure, I can accept it." William looked at me with eyes full of affection. He was warm, kind, and gave me a sense of peace I hadn't felt in years. But sadly, the path I was walking and the path he believed we were walking together were not the same. A few days later, after everything had been arranged, Kevin and I packed our belongings and followed William to his family's mansion. It was my first time stepping into a place like this. Looking at the magnificent mansion in front of me, I felt as if I had entered a completely different world. There was no denying how wealthy his family was. "Mom, Dad William's house is so big and beautiful." Kevin grabbed my hand excitedly. William smiled, crouched down beside him, and said, "From now on, this is your home and your mom's home too. We're all going to live here together and be happy, okay?" Kevin grinned and nodded repeatedly. "Yes, Dad William, I love it." A housekeeper hurried outside to greet us. "Welcome home, sir and ma'am." William turned toward me. "This is Denise, our housekeeper." I politely greeted her. "Nice to meet you." Denise smiled warmly. "Please come inside." William led Kevin and me through the front door. The luxury of the mansion became even more obvious once we stepped inside. Kevin's large eyes moved everywhere as he admired everything around him. In the living room, Harper was sitting calmly and drinking tea. "Mom, we're home," William said. Harper took a sip from her cup before looking directly at me. "Go upstairs, get settled, and come down for dinner later." "Yes, ma'am," William replied. I gently pushed Kevin forward. "Say hello." Kevin immediately waved and said politely, "Hello, Grandma. My name is Kevin. I'm very happy to be here today." Harper looked at him with cold eyes. "Fine. Take him upstairs. Make sure he doesn't run around breaking things." Her attitude didn't surprise me. William picked Kevin up and took my hand before leading us upstairs. Life among the wealthy really was different. People met at the dinner table, exchanged a few words, and then disappeared into their own worlds. After dinner, William led me to a room and unlocked the door. "What's this room?" I asked. William turned on the light and looked at me. This is my parents' memorial room. I froze. But your mother is still alive, isn't she? William looked at me quietly. Come inside and pay your respects first. Then I'll explain everything. I followed him into the room. As I looked at the photographs on the altar, I felt an odd sense of familiarity. It seemed like I had seen those faces somewhere before, but I couldn't remember where. After we finished paying our respects, William and I returned to our room. His eyes grew distant as he began telling me a story he had rarely shared with anyone. I'm sorry for hiding this from you. It's a pain I can never forget. He paused before continuing. When I was in 8th grade, my parents and I went on a road trip. Halfway through the journey, my father lost control of the car. The vehicle went off a cliff. My chest tightened as I listened. My parents died at the scene. Somehow, I survived. The doctors said it was a miracle. But I was critically injured and had lost a dangerous amount of blood. The hospital didn't have enough blood available. William lowered his eyes. That's when Harper appeared. She had the same blood type as me, so she immediately donated blood and saved my life. I sat quietly, absorbing every word. What was her relationship with your family? William answered. She was a distant relative of my mother. She was also my father's assistant. She never married. She devoted her entire life to helping my parents build the company. His words left me confused. Could I have been wrong all along? A woman willing to sacrifice her youth, her future, and her personal happiness for another family didn't sound like the person I had imagined. Looking at how much William respected her, it was obvious she had played an important role in his life. You must love her very much, I said. William nodded. To me, she's my second mother. Everything this company has today exists because of her. I reached over and squeezed his hand. You've been through so much. William pulled me gently into his arms. Maybe that's why I understood your pain. Maybe that's why I fell in love with you without even realizing it. My throat tightened. William loved me deeply and trusted me completely. Yet I was hiding my true purpose from him. If he ever learned the truth, would he hate me? Ever since Kevin and I moved into the mansion, we had been living like royalty. But this was not the life I wanted. My future mother-in-law always treated Kevin and me with hostility, but I chose not to pay attention to it and carried on as if nothing had happened. One Sunday, everyone was home, and Kevin was off from school as well. While he was playing, he accidentally knocked over a flower vase sitting on a table. The sound startled me, and I quickly turned around. At that exact moment, Harper walked out and saw the shattered vase scattered across the floor. She immediately slapped Kevin hard across the face. Kevin burst into tears and fright. You little bastard! Do you enjoy destroying things? I'll break your legs if you keep this up. Kevin's face turned pale. He folded his hands and apologized. I'm sorry, Grandma. I won't be naughty again. My heart ached for him, but I didn't dare defend him. This was the life I had chosen, so I had no choice but to endure it. William quickly walked over to Kevin. Mom, why are you being so harsh with him? Kids make mistakes. That's normal. Harper glared at him. I worked hard to raise you, and now you've brought some fatherless child into this family. Aren't you ashamed of yourself? Seeing the situation getting worse, I hurried over, picked Kevin up, and spoke softly. I'm sorry, Mom. Kevin was being too playful. I'll make sure to teach him better. Harper fixed her eyes on me. You'd better watch yourself. Don't make me angry. I lowered my head. Yes, Mom, I understand. Harper always treated Kevin and me like a thorn in her side. She constantly said hurtful things in the hope that I would leave. But because of my determination, I swallowed my pain and endured everything so that I could uncover the truth and seek justice for those who had died. It sounded ridiculous, even to me. I didn't have a single clue or piece of evidence proving that Harper was involved in anything. I was simply following my instincts. They kept telling me that if I gave up now, I would spend the rest of my life living with regret and guilt. I had people keeping an eye on her everywhere she went, but I still couldn't find a single lead. Today, Kevin had a fever, so I stayed home to take care of him. I was feeding him porridge when Denise walked in with a woman about the same age as my future mother-in-law. I greeted her. Hello. She walked over and sat across from me. You're William's wife, aren't you? I nodded. Yes, ma'am. Just then, Denise came out and served her a glass of water. The woman reached for it, and something unbelievable caught my eye. There was a snake tattoo on her wrist. I froze. My eyes locked onto that tattoo. Mom, Kevin's voice snapped me back to reality. I quickly looked away. Is something wrong? The woman asked. I forced myself to stay calm. No, nothing. It's just my first time meeting you, so I was curious about who you are. Denise spoke up. She's Mrs. Harper's friend. She was overseas for a long time, so she hasn't visited here much. That's why you haven't met her before. I barely paid attention to what Denise was saying. My mind was spinning around that snake tattoo. Why did she have the exact same tattoo as Harper? Was it some kind of symbol? Or just a tattoo trend among wealthy women? Was I wrong all along? Or was that tattoo trying to tell me something? Is this your son? She asked. I answered absent-mindedly. Yes, ma'am. He's my son. Then I asked politely, did you need something today? Mrs. Harper won't be home until this afternoon. The woman casually changed the way she addressed me. I know. I actually came here to see you. I looked at her in surprise. You wanted to see me? That's right. I've heard that your marriage to William faced a lot of opposition from his mother, hasn't it? I remained silent. She continued, don't be upset. Your mother-in-law has a bad temper, but she's a very kind person. Even though William isn't her biological son, she's always loved him and placed all her hopes on him. You're a mother yourself, so you understand, don't you? A mother's heart always wants the very best for her child. She paused before continuing. She's talked to me about you many times. She told me she already intended to accept your marriage to William. She was only making things difficult for you to see whether you truly loved him. After hearing that, I didn't know what to believe. Was she telling the truth? Was Harper really the good person I once thought she was? Maybe that snake tattoo was nothing more than a tattoo. Maybe someone had simply taken a picture of it. Maybe it didn't prove anything at all. Perhaps I had become too sensitive about this whole matter and had judged her unfairly. Please don't tell your mother-in-law about this conversation. I nodded. Yes, ma'am. I understand. That entire night, I couldn't stop thinking. Whose snake tattoo was the man talking about? Did it have anything to do with all of this? The next day, while heading to work, I accidentally bumped into a man. I'm sorry. I'm in a hurry and wasn't paying attention. I looked up at him, and the world seemed to spin around me. My legs nearly gave out beneath me. The man standing in front of me was the very same man who had caused Mark's accident. Do you remember me? I stammered. You're still alive? He looked at me strangely, then quickly got into his car and drove away. I stood there like a lost soul and shouted after him, "Stop right there!" It was as if he was terrified of seeing me. Every bit of strength drained from my body. My breathing became uneven and weak. Feeling exhausted, I sat down by the side of the road. My mind was completely blank. What was going on? Hadn't his wife said he was dead? Had she lied to me? Why would she do that? And maybe her suicide had actually been real. Yet I had convinced myself that someone had murdered her. My thoughts were in complete chaos. I had been so certain that Harper was behind everything. Even now, I couldn't understand any of it. If I told the truth, would they ever forgive me? Because of this, I had hurt William. I had hurt his mother as well. I couldn't continue working that day, so I turned around and went home. When I got home, I saw Harper standing in the yard trimming some plants. My face instantly grew hot with embarrassment. Mom, aren't you working today? She kept that same cold expression and replied, I'm visiting an orphanage today, so I took the day off. But why are you home in the middle of the workday? I lowered my head and answered, I wasn't feeling very well, so I came home early. Then go get some rest. If you're feeling better by 2 o'clock this afternoon, come with me. I looked at her in surprise. She continued, You're William's wife. I want you to come so you can see and understand more. I nodded. Yes, Mom, I understand. At 2 o'clock, we left together. After about an hour on the road, we arrived at the orphanage. Harper had brought a large amount of fruit and pastries for the children. As soon as we arrived, a group of children ran over and threw their arms around Harper. Grandma, why haven't you come to see us lately? We've missed you so much. For the first time, I saw a warm smile on Harper's face. She crouched down, gently patted each child on the head, and said softly, I'm sorry, kids. I've been busy with work lately. That's why I haven't been able to visit. But today I brought lots of fruit and pastries for all of you." Watching that scene, I felt ashamed of myself. A person who was loved by so many people, especially innocent children like these, had to be a good person. Yet for so long, I had been thinking the worst of her. All because of someone else's words. All because of a snake tattoo. I had built countless suspicions in my head. I felt terrible about myself, worse than I could put into words. After days of struggling with my conscience, I finally decided to tell the truth and free myself from the burden I had been carrying. I was going to leave. I couldn't bring myself to face William anymore. My grief over losing Mark had driven me to the point where I could no longer think clearly. Seeing the tension on my face, William asked, "You don't look well. Is something wrong? Did Mom give you a hard time again?" I shook my head. "No, it's not that. There's something I need to tell you and Mom." Concern immediately appeared on William's face. "What is it?" Just then, Harper walked out. The way she looked at me now was gentle, nothing like before. "What's going on? Why do you both look so serious?" I swallowed hard and gathered my courage. "There's something I need to tell both of you today. I just hope that after you hear it, you'll forgive me. Everything happened because I was foolish." They exchanged confused looks. "What's wrong?" William asked. "You're worrying me." I lowered my head. "The truth is, the reason I agreed to marry William was because of you, Mom." The shock on their faces grew with every word I spoke. "What nonsense are you talking about?" Harper snapped. "You said you married William because you loved him. Now you're saying it was because of me?" I understood why she reacted that way, so I quickly continued. "I'm sorry, Mom. Because of the snake tattoo on your wrist, I convinced myself that you were the person responsible for my fiancé's death. That's why I agreed to come here with William. My goal was to get close to you." William stared at me in disbelief. "Do you even realize what you're saying?" I nodded. "I do. That's why I feel like a terrible person right now. I need to tell the truth." With tears filling my eyes, I told them everything from the beginning. When I finished, Harper slammed her hand against the table. "How dare you? You accused me of something like that. Do you even know what this tattoo means to me?" "It's a matching tattoo shared by 3 close friends. One of them has already passed away." "What gave you the right to accuse me? How could I possibly know your fiancé? Do you think the law works on wild accusations? That was unbelievably foolish of you." I lowered my head. "I'm sorry, Mom. I'll leave today." William immediately grabbed my hand. "Where are you going?" I looked at him with overwhelming guilt. "I'm going back to Houston for a while. I need time to clear my head." "I'm sorry. I'm so sorry." "No." He tightened his grip on my hand. "I'm not letting you go anywhere. I can't live without you." Tears streamed down my cheeks. I knew William truly loved me, but I no longer had the courage to stay. Harper suddenly spoke up. "You're cruel. You gave my son hope, and now you're walking away?" She let out a long sigh. "Over this time, I've seen how well you've treated William. I thought it was because you loved him. Even though I never liked you, I was trying to accept you as my daughter-in-law. Now that I know the truth, I don't blame you anymore. I understand what it's like to lose someone you love. I can forgive the mistakes you made because of that pain. So stay here. You've already become part of this family. Do your duty as a wife." Her words warmed my heart. I never imagined she could be so kind. "Mom, you're not angry anymore?" Harper shook her head. "What would staying angry accomplish? I've spent my life bringing happiness to other people. Why shouldn't I give that same happiness to my own son? I know how much William loves you. He's willing to sacrifice everything to be with you. Don't let him down." William squeezed my hand tightly. "You heard, Mom. Stay here with me. Don't leave." For the first time in a long while, warmth returned to my heart. Happiness slowly filled the emptiness inside me. After everything we had been through, it felt as though a heavy weight had finally been lifted from my shoulders. "Can I really stay?" I asked. William smiled and nodded. "Of course. You're my wife." I threw my arms around William and cried uncontrollably. "Thank you for loving me." He gently wiped the tears from my cheeks. "Don't cry anymore. From now on, let's live happily together." From that day forward, my life seemed to turn to a brand new page. Harper gradually opened her heart to me, and the distance between us disappeared. Not long after that, I decided to take William back to Houston to meet my family. Back home, my parents and Trevor still hadn't fully accepted him. It wasn't because they disliked him. They were worried that a man like William could never truly love a single mother like me. When the car stopped in front of the house, my parents and Trevor rushed outside. I opened the door and stepped out. My mother immediately burst into tears and smacked me on the shoulder. "You little brat! Why did it take you so long to come home?" Seeing her cry made me cry too. "I'm sorry, everyone." William stood beside me and politely bowed his head. "Hello, Mom and Dad. Hello, Trevor." My parents looked him over from head to toe. My father spoke first. "You're William, right?" William nodded respectfully. "Yes, sir." My father's expression remained serious. "Do you truly love my daughter? She's a single mother. Can a wealthy man like you really accept that?" William answered without hesitation. "Yes, sir. I truly love Elise. I'll do everything I can to be a good husband and a good father. I want her and Kevin to live a happy life." After hearing that, my father didn't say another word. He simply turned around and walked inside. I knew the issue wasn't William. The problem was me. My family was afraid I wouldn't be able to hold on to someone like him. My mother finally spoke. "Come inside, both of you." William and I followed my mother and Trevor into the house. While looking around, William's eyes stopped on several old photographs hanging on the wall. He stood up and walked closer. "This picture looks familiar." He pointed at a childhood photo of Trevor, me, and a little boy standing beside us. "That boy on the right, that's me." I froze and stared at him. My mother and Trevor looked just as shocked. "Don't tell me," Trevor said. "You're Billy?" Tears instantly filled William's eyes. "Yes." Back then, everyone called me Billy. The entire room seemed to fall silent. Trevor stepped forward. "And I'm Bear, your best friend from back then." William immediately rushed over and hugged him tightly. "Bear! I can't believe you've changed so much. I didn't recognize you." Trevor laughed through his tears. "You've changed too, Billy." The world truly was smaller than I ever imagined. The boy whose departure had made me cry my eyes out as a child was now standing right beside me and was about to become my husband. "Billy," I whispered. "Do you remember me? I'm Elise." He walked over and wrapped me in a tight embrace. "I remember now. I'm sorry for not recognizing you sooner. After my parents died, my whole world collapsed. I spent years trying to cope with everything that happened. Little by little, I forgot about the promise I made that day. Besides, you look very different from when you were little, so I didn't recognize you either. But maybe God had other plans for us, because after all these years, I found you again." Then the three of us sat together, chatting warmly about our childhood memories and feeling grateful for the way fate had brought us back together. That's how it was. Happiness sometimes comes from the smallest and most unexpected things. After that, my parents finally agreed to our marriage and fully accepted William. At that point, it felt as though I had everything I could ever wish for. No one would have imagined that a single mother like me would one day find such complete happiness in life. Not long afterward, William and I held our wedding in a luxurious hotel. Mark's parents were there on our special day as well. They held me tightly and cried, "Live a happy life, sweetheart. Now we can finally be at peace." I couldn't hold back my tears. "Thank you, Mom and Dad. Thank you for loving me all this time. No matter what happens, I will always be your daughter." They gently wiped away the tears rolling down my cheeks. "Don't cry anymore. Today is a happy day. You should be smiling." I nodded and gave them a smile. "Yes, Mom. Yes, Dad." After the wedding, I settled into my new role as a wife and daughter-in-law. Harper had changed completely and treated me with far more love and kindness than before. For the first time in a very long while, I felt that my life was truly peaceful and happy. Looking back, I realized that I had spent so much time thinking badly of her. I had always seen her as cold, cruel, and impossible to like. Now everything that had been tangled inside my heart had finally been untied, and life seemed to return to where it was meant to be. A month after the wedding, our family received wonderful news. During dinner one evening, I suddenly felt nauseous and exhausted. "What's wrong?" Harper asked. "Elise, is the food not to your liking today?" I looked at her and shook my head. No, Mom. I just feel like throwing up. She studied me for a moment before speaking again. You look a little pale. Maybe you should go to the hospital and get checked. I think you might be pregnant. Her words caught me by surprise. My period was already late that month. William's face immediately lit up with excitement. Let's take you to the doctor right now. If Mom's right, that's amazing news. I smiled and nodded. Okay. After dinner, William drove me to the hospital. Harper's guess turned out to be correct. I was a little over 1 month pregnant. William was overwhelmed with joy. He lifted me into his arms and spun me around several times. What are you doing? I laughed. I'm pregnant. What if you make me dizzy and hurt the baby? He quickly put me down and grinned sheepishly. Sorry, I'm just too happy. Not long after we found out about the pregnancy, William had to leave for an unexpected overseas business trip that would last several months. While he was away, Harper treated me like a queen. She wouldn't even let me take care of Kevin myself. She hired a nanny specifically to help look after him. Sometimes I felt embarrassed. All I did was eat, rest, and relax. It almost felt boring. Mom, I'm perfectly healthy. You don't need to hire a nanny for Kevin. It's a waste of money. Harper shook her head immediately. Absolutely not. You're carrying my grandchild. Your only job right now is to eat well and take care of yourself. Have a healthy baby first. Don't worry about money. We may not be the richest family in the world, but we can easily take care of you and the children for the rest of your lives. Her words warmed my heart. When I was pregnant with Kevin, I wasn't suffering as much as some women, but I still had to endure morning sickness and keep working to support my child. Now, as the daughter-in-law of this family, I was being treated like royalty. People really are measured by the kindness in their hearts. One day, while scrolling through articles online, I happened to read a piece about foods that pregnant women should avoid. The more I read, the more uneasy I became. According to the article, eating too much crab and aloe vera during pregnancy could increase the risk of complications. I sat there staring at the screen. Lately, Harper had been having the kitchen prepare crab dishes for me almost every day because she believed they were nutritious. There was also aloe vera dessert served regularly after meals. Maybe it was nothing, but I still felt worried. As soon as the housekeeper walked into the room, I called out to her. Can I ask you something? She smiled. Of course, ma'am. I handed her my phone. Look at this article. It says pregnant women shouldn't eat too much of these foods. The housekeeper's expression changed immediately. Really? She carefully read through the article and looked just as concerned as I felt. Mrs. Harper has been asking the kitchen to prepare these things almost every day. That's why I'm worried, I admitted. Maybe we should be more careful. The housekeeper nodded. I think we should tell Denise. Not long afterward, Denise arrived. After listening to everything, she looked shocked. I had no idea. Mrs. Harper only wanted the best for you. She probably never knew about this either. I nodded. I know she means well. That's why I wanted to say something before it became a problem. Denise immediately agreed. You're right. We shouldn't take any risks. I'll make sure the kitchen changes your meals starting today. Hearing that made me feel relieved. Sometimes even good intentions could lead to mistakes if people didn't have the right information. Thank you, Denise. She smiled warmly. No need to thank me. From now on, if you read or hear anything related to your pregnancy, tell us right away. We all want what's best for you and the baby. I nodded. Yes, I understand. Time passed quickly. William called me every day from overseas to check on me and the baby. Everything seemed to be going smoothly with the pregnancy. One morning, I woke up early and stepped out of my room. The house was unusually quiet. I planned to head downstairs and make myself a glass of milk. As I reached the staircase, my foot suddenly slipped. Before I could react, my body lost balance. I tumbled down the stairs. A sharp pain shot through my stomach. I curled up on the floor instinctively. Looking down, I saw blood spreading beneath me. My baby. My vision blurred. The voices around me grew distant until everything faded into darkness. When I opened my eyes again, I found myself lying in a hospital room. Harper, Denise, Kevin, and several members of the household staff were standing nearby. Elise, you're awake! Harper rushed to my bedside. I immediately grabbed her hand. My baby. How's my baby? The baby's okay. Only then did I finally breathe again. Tears rolled down my face. Thank God. At that moment, a young maid named Sadie suddenly dropped to her knees beside the bed and burst into tears. I'm sorry, ma'am. This is all my fault. I looked at her in confusion. What happened? Sadie sobbed uncontrollably. I cleaned the floor this morning and forgot to put up a warning sign. I never thought something like this would happen. Please forgive me. Harper's face darkened instantly. Do you have any idea how serious this is? If something had happened to my grandchild, could you take responsibility for it? Sadie lowered her head and cried even harder. I'm sorry. I really am. Seeing her like that, I felt sorry for her. Mom, please don't blame her anymore. She didn't do it on purpose. Harper turned to look at me. You're still defending her after what happened? I gently squeezed her hand. The baby is safe. That's what matters most. Everyone makes mistakes. Please forgive her. Harper let out a long sigh before finally nodding. Fine, but this can never happen again. Sadie immediately bowed her head repeatedly. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. I leaned back against the pillow, exhausted but grateful. The baby was safe. That was all I cared about. Get some rest, Harper said softly. Don't think about anything else, I nodded. Yes, Mom. After spending a few days in the hospital, my condition finally stabilized. Even so, whenever I thought back to what had happened, fear still lingered in my heart. I was lost in thought when I heard footsteps outside. I assumed my mother-in-law had come to visit. A moment later, the door opened, but it was Sadie. She was carrying a bag, and her pale, exhausted face looked drained of all color. Hello, ma'am. I turned toward her. You came to visit me? She nervously walked over to my bedside. I came to apologize to you. I could already sense how troubled she was. It's okay. I'm feeling much better now. What happened wasn't your fault. Sadie looked at me, then suddenly rushed to the door and locked it. Her strange behavior immediately made me uneasy. I have something I need to tell you. Her voice trembled. I've thought about this very carefully before coming here. I can't keep silent and let something happen to a good person like you. A sense of dread crept into my chest. Sadie, what are you talking about? Tears streamed down her face. That day, I deliberately spilled oil on the floor so you would slip and fall. My face instantly turned pale. Are you saying you wanted me to lose my baby? Yes. She lowered her head and sobbed. I never wanted to do it, ma'am. My mother is very sick, and I desperately needed money. That's why I did something so terrible. I regret it every day. I stared at her in disbelief. She continued through her tears. I came here because I want you to know that someone in that house is trying to hurt you. Please be careful. My throat tightened. It felt as though I could no longer breathe. This sounded exactly like something out of a movie. Who is it? Who's behind this? Before she could answer, there was a loud knock on the door. Sadie jumped in fear. I looked at her and said, Go open it. The door swung open, and Denise walked in. Her cold eyes swept over Sadie before turning toward me. Why is the door locked, ma'am? I was startled but quickly forced myself to stay calm. Some children kept opening the door and running in. It was getting a little annoying. Denise didn't respond to me. Instead, she turned to Sadie. You came to visit Mrs. William without telling me. I almost thought you'd gone back to your hometown. I just wanted to come say goodbye to her. As soon as she finished speaking, she hurried out of the room. Denise watched her leave before saying, That girl is useless. I already fired her. I looked at her in surprise. Why? She's always seemed hardworking and obedient. Denise's voice carried a clear note of dislike. You're too kind-hearted, ma'am. She almost got you and your baby killed. A chill ran through me. According to Sadie, someone in the house was trying to harm me. So who was it? I noticed the slight frown on Denise's face. Why had she appeared at exactly that moment? Was she afraid Sadie might reveal something? According to all the movies I used to watch, it was often the housekeeper who secretly plotted against the family. Could it be Denise? Mrs. William, why are you staring into space like that? Denise's voice snapped me out of my thoughts. I'm just a little tired. Then I'll leave you to rest. As she walked away, I couldn't stop thinking about the look on her face. From that day on, I pretended everything was normal. I acted as though nothing had happened. After being discharged from the hospital, I returned home. but fear followed me every moment. I was afraid someone was trying to harm me, yet I couldn't tell William. Even if I did, I doubted he would believe me. I began making plans to uncover the truth myself. The person I focused on was Denise. I started paying attention to her every move. One night, after everyone in the house had gone to sleep, I felt restless and decided to take a walk outside. As I wandered through the hallway, I suddenly spotted Denise. She was wearing a pink dress, her hair carefully brushed and flowing over her shoulders. She looked completely different from the strict, professional housekeeper I saw every day. Afraid of being noticed, I quickly hid and watched from a distance. I had no idea where she was going, but then I froze when I saw her stop in front of Harper's bedroom. Denise glanced around cautiously before opening the door and slipping inside. I stood there in shock. What was she doing in Harper's room this late at night? Were the two of them hiding something? I decided to stay and wait. About an hour later, the door finally opened, and Denise came back out. From that moment on, I became convinced there were secrets hidden inside this house. Why did she have to sneak into Harper's room in the middle of the night? I continued watching her on other nights, hoping to find answers. And every single night, at exactly the same hour, Denise quietly slipped into my mother-in-law's room. After days of thinking it over, I decided to secretly place a camera inside Harper's room. There was one problem, though. In this house, no one was allowed into her room except Denise. Not even the other servants could enter. Denise handled everything in that room herself. No matter what, I had to find out what was going on. So I waited for the time when Denise was cleaning Harper's room. Carrying Kevin in my arms, I stood near the door. The moment Denise opened it, I gently nudged Kevin forward. He immediately ran inside. "Kevin!" I shouted, pretending to panic as I hurried after him. "Why are you running into Grandma's room?" Denise's face darkened with anger. "Why would you let him come in here? Take him outside right now." While she was distracted, I quickly attached a small camera beneath a table. I glanced around the room and noticed a large Buddha statue standing in the center. "I'm sorry, Denise. He's been so naughty lately. I'll take him out right away." I grabbed Kevin and hurried outside, my heart pounding. That evening, I nervously opened the camera feed on my phone. According to the clock, it was almost time for Denise to visit Harper's room. My heart felt as though it might leap out of my chest. The door opened, and Denise walked inside. At first, nothing seemed unusual. A little while later, Harper got out of bed. Then something happened that completely shocked me. The two women embraced each other and began kissing. Goosebumps spread across my skin. I couldn't believe what I was seeing. Were they in a romantic relationship? I sat down heavily on the floor, drenched in sweat. My mind was spinning. After spending several days trying to process what I had seen, I finally decided to tell William. When he heard the story, his reaction was strangely calm. "So that's what this is about?" I stared at him. "You mean you knew?" He nodded. "Yes, my mother is gay. She told me after my parents passed away. At the time, I didn't really understand. But as I got older and learned more about the LGBTQ community, I started feeling sorry for her. For most people, it wouldn't be a big deal. But for someone in her position, leading a major corporation, it's different. She spent her whole life hiding that part of herself." He paused before continuing. "I think I was the only one who knew. Now you know too. I hope you'll understand and be compassionate toward her." At that moment, I felt deeply ashamed. I had invaded someone else's private life because of my curiosity. "I'm sorry. I shouldn't have done that." William shook his head. "It's okay. I should have told you sooner. Now get some rest and stop worrying so much. It's not good for you or the baby." I nodded. "Okay, I understand." After that, I didn't discriminate against gay people, but I still couldn't shake the uneasy feeling inside me. I hadn't fully accepted what I had learned. One day, Denise suddenly asked, "You've seemed distracted lately, ma'am. Are you feeling unwell?" Her question caught me off guard. "No, not at all. I think I'm just getting nervous because the baby's due date is getting closer. That's why I've been feeling uneasy." Denise stared at me with her sharp eyes. "You've given birth before. What is there to worry about?" I forced a smile. "People always say childbirth is like standing between life and death. That's probably why." Denise continued, looking at me before speaking in a strangely casual tone. I've noticed that pregnant women who like sticking their noses into other people's business often end up getting into trouble. I think it's better to focus on yourself and live quietly. That's the safest way to stay out of danger. A chill immediately ran down my spine. Her words didn't sound casual at all. It felt as though she was warning me. Did she know something? Had she discovered that I was spying on her relationship with Harper? I quickly replied, "I would never interfere in someone else's life." Denise shrugged. "I was only saying that. I know what kind of person you are." Then she turned and walked away. I stood there watching her leave, unable to calm the fear rising inside me. Could Sadie have been talking about Denise all along? As I was thinking about Sadie, one of the maids suddenly came running upstairs. Her face was completely pale. "Ma'am! Ma'am!" I immediately stood up. "What's wrong?" The maid looked as though she was about to cry. Sadie. Sadie was raped and murdered. My entire body began trembling. I couldn't believe what I had just heard. "What did you say?" The maid quickly held out her phone. "Look, her family sent these pictures. I stay in touch with her older sister, so they sent them to me." The moment I looked at the photos, my heart nearly stopped. I froze. My throat tightened. How could this happen? Tears filled my eyes. She was such a kind girl. Why would something so cruel happen to her? I sat there in silence, unable to process it. Life and death truly were fragile. One moment a person could be alive, and the next they could be gone forever. When Harper heard the news, she immediately returned to Sadie's hometown to pay her respects. "Mom, let me go with you." Harper shook her head. "You're pregnant. A trip that far isn't good for you. I'll pass along your condolences." I knew she was right, so I nodded. "Okay, Mom." But after that day, something changed. A few nights later, I dreamed that Sadie came to see me. Her clothes were covered in blood. She stood in front of me and cried, "Please avenge me. Someone paid to have me killed. Please avenge me." I woke up with a scream and pressed myself against the wall in terror. Yet the nightmares didn't stop there. Almost every night, whenever I fell asleep, I saw Sadie again. The same blood, the same plea for justice. From then on, almost every night, whenever darkness fell and I drifted off to sleep, I would see Sadie standing before me. Her body was covered in blood, and her eyes were filled with fear and despair. "Please help me. Please avenge me," she kept saying. I would wake up drenched in sweat, my heart pounding violently in my chest. The nightmares came so often that I was becoming exhausted. One morning, William called from overseas as usual. Hearing my tired voice, he immediately asked, "What's wrong? You don't sound well." I hesitated before finally telling him everything. "I've been having nightmares about Sadie. Every night she appears and begs me to help her. I don't know why, but it feels so real." William fell silent for a moment before speaking gently. "You've been thinking about her too much. That's all. Her death was tragic, so it's normal for it to affect you. Stop overthinking it, okay?" I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "Maybe you're right. Promise me you'll focus on your health and the baby. Leave everything else alone." "Okay." After hanging up, I still couldn't shake the uneasy feeling in my chest. A few hours later, Denise suddenly appeared outside my room. "Mrs. William, Mrs. Harper would like to see you." I looked up in surprise. "She wants to see me?" "Yes." Denise's expression remained unreadable. "She's waiting for you in her room." My heart skipped a beat for some reason. Ever since I discovered the secret between Harper and Denise, I had felt uncomfortable whenever I was around either of them. Still, I couldn't refuse. "Okay, I'll come right away." Denise nodded and turned to leave. I slowly got to my feet and followed her down the hallway. The closer I got to Harper's room, the stronger my uneasiness became. Finally, I stopped in front of the door. This was the second time I had stepped into this room. I took a deep breath and pushed the door open. Harper was sitting on a chair near the window, calmly drinking tea. Denise stood quietly behind her. The atmosphere in the room felt strangely heavy. "Mom, you wanted to see me?" Harper slowly set her teacup down and looked straight at me. "Sit down." I obeyed and sat across from her. For a moment, no one spoke. Then Harper suddenly asked, "How much do you know?" My heart skipped a beat. "I don't understand what you mean." Harper let out a cold laugh. "Don't play dumb with me." A chill ran through my body. Mom, I really don't understand. The warmth I had become used to seeing on her face was gone. Her eyes were cold and frightening. You installed a camera in my room, didn't you? My face instantly turned pale. I opened my mouth but couldn't say a word. Harper slowly stood up and walked toward me. Did you really think I wouldn't find out? I unconsciously took a step backward. Mom, Before I could finish, a sharp slap landed across my face. The force nearly knocked me to the floor. I stared at her in shock. Harper pointed at me with trembling fingers. You crossed a line you never should have crossed. Tears filled my eyes. I'm sorry. I was wrong. Wrong? Harper laughed bitterly. Do you think an apology is enough? Denise remained silent the entire time, watching me with a cold expression. Fear slowly consumed me. Something was terribly wrong. Mom, please listen to me. Harper suddenly grabbed my chin. Tell me, what else do you know? Nothing. I swear. I don't know anything else. She stared into my eyes as if trying to determine whether I was lying. Then she slowly released me. For a brief moment, I thought everything might be okay. But the next second, I felt a sharp pain at the back of my neck. My vision blurred instantly. The room spun around me. The last thing I saw before everything went dark was Harper standing beside me and Denise watching silently. When I regained consciousness, I realized my hands and feet were tied. Panic exploded inside me. I struggled desperately against the ropes. Help! Somebody help me! A slow clap echoed through the room. Harper stepped out of the shadows. Denise followed behind her. Both women were staring at me. Harper smiled, but there was no warmth in it, only cruelty. Stop wasting your energy. My heart pounded wildly. What are you doing? Let me go! Harper crouched down in front of me. You should have stayed out of things that didn't concern you. Tears streamed down my face. Please, I'm pregnant. Harper's smile widened. No one is going to save you. Denise folded her arms and looked down at me without emotion. Harper leaned closer and whispered, There's nobody who can save you now. I glared at them, hatred burning in my eyes. You two are monsters. Just because I learned the truth about you, you were willing to hurt innocent people like me? Harper threw her head back and laughed loudly. You're still so naive. The truth isn't what you think it is. Look over there. I followed the direction she pointed. A man was tied up just like I was. His hands and feet were bound, and his head hung low as if he had been beaten so badly that he couldn't even lift it. Throw some water on him. Wake him up. Harper's cruel voice echoed through the room. Denise obeyed immediately. She grabbed a bucket of water and splashed it directly into the man's face. A few moments later, he slowly regained consciousness. I froze when I finally saw his face. William? My voice trembled. William? Why are you here? Hearing my voice, he struggled to speak with the little strength he had left. Is that you, Elise? Tears streamed down my face. Yes, it's me. What is happening? Harper burst into laughter beside us. Looks like husband and wife finally get to reunite. Your husband has been gone for months and you didn't even realize it. I'd say my plan worked perfectly. I stared at her in disbelief. Have you lost your mind? He was supposed to be overseas on a business trip. Don't tell me all of this was part of your plan. Harper smirked. You're finally starting to understand. My entire body trembled. Then who was talking to me on the phone every night? Harper bent down and dragged me across the floor toward William. Ask your husband. He'll tell you the truth. I looked at William's bruised face, covered in cuts and dark purple marks. My heart shattered. William, what's going on? I don't understand any of this. Tears rolled down his cheeks. I'm sorry. I couldn't protect you. They captured me shortly after they found out you were pregnant. I stared at him in horror. Then the person who called me every night. Was that really you? William looked at me with unbearable pain in his eyes. No, it wasn't me. The person who called you every night was my twin brother. When we were born, our family was struggling financially, so my parents gave him away to another family. His life was incredibly difficult growing up. Eventually, he found me, but by then his heart was already filled with resentment. Then he crossed paths with those two monsters. Together, they created a twisted plan to take over the company and push me toward death. The world seemed to spin around me. The man William was talking about looked exactly like him. Not just their appearance, but even their mannerisms and the way they spoke were nearly identical. "You're lying to me," I cried. "I don't believe there can be someone in this world who looks exactly like you." "Of course you don't believe it. That's because we're twins." A familiar voice suddenly came from behind me. I turned around. The ground beneath my feet seemed to collapse. The man standing there looked exactly like William. They were like two drops of water. "I spent years studying every little thing about him," the man said with a cold smile. "His habits, his personality, even the smallest details. That's why none of you could tell us apart." I stared at him with hatred. "You're a disgusting human being." His expression instantly darkened. "What do you know about my life?" he snapped. "Since I was a child, I survived on leftovers. The people who raised me beat me and abused me. I lived worse than a dog. Meanwhile, your husband had loving parents, a wealthy family, and every opportunity in the world. Do you think that's fair?" His eyes burned with resentment. "He had to die so I could become him. Do you understand now?" Harper burst into laughter beside him. "Exactly. That's the point." The twin brothers stared at me coldly. "You have no idea how much time I spent learning everything about him. I had to become him. I had to think like him. I had to talk like him. That's why none of you ever noticed the difference." My heart filled with disgust. I had never imagined that someone could become so twisted because of jealousy and hatred. Yet standing before me was proof that such a person existed. Harper's voice suddenly rang out, filling me with hatred down to my bones. "Do you know whose idea it was to feed you crab? Do you know whose idea it was to pour soap on the floor and make you fall?" The twin brother smiled proudly. "Mine." I stared at him in disbelief. "You monsters!" He shrugged as if it were nothing. "I wanted your baby dead a long time ago. It's just a shame none of those plans worked." A chill ran through my entire body. I instinctively placed both hands over my stomach. The child inside me was innocent, yet they had repeatedly tried to kill him. Harper laughed coldly. "Money and power can make people do wonderful things." "Wonderful?" I shouted. "You call this wonderful? You people have completely lost your humanity." Harper's eyes narrowed. "Humanity?" she sneered. "Can humanity buy power? Can humanity buy freedom? Can humanity buy a life where everyone bows their heads before you?" I glared at her. "Money and status aren't everything. When you die, you can't take any of it with you." Harper let out a harsh laugh. "I only care about the life I'm living right now. As for what happens after I die, I've never wasted time thinking about it." Then her expression suddenly turned smug. "Since we're all being honest, let me tell you some good news. The fiancé who died years ago? I was the one driving that car." My breathing stopped. My body froze. "What?" Harper looked pleased by my reaction. "That's right. I was the one who caused the accident. I'd just come from a business dinner with some clients that night, and I'd had far too much to drink. Your fiancé was simply unlucky, that's all." Tears filled my eyes. My voice trembled with rage. "You're a monster," Harper smiled. "Now you finally understand how useful money and power can be. To me, he was nothing more than a worthless ant." The room fell silent except for the sound of my uneven breathing. Every painful memory came rushing back. Mark's death, the grief, the years of suffering. All of it had been caused by the woman standing in front of me. I felt as though I could no longer breathe. "You really are a demon." William's voice suddenly echoed through the room. "Mom, I've called you Mom for so many years. I used to feel lucky to have you in my life. But today I've realized that every cruel and evil thing imaginable exists inside you. Why? Why did you do all of this?" Harper slowly turned to him. For a brief moment, something dark flickered in her eyes. "Why?" she repeated. "Because I hated your parents." William stared at her in disbelief. Harper laughed bitterly. "I loved your father more than I loved my own life. I gave him everything. I stood beside him. I helped him build his future. But what did I get in return?" Her voice trembled with rage. "He betrayed me. He went back to his hometown and married some countrywoman. Then he came back and showed me his perfect little family as if nothing had happened." My entire body turned cold. Harper's face twisted with hatred. "The day your happy family returned was the day my heart shattered. So I made a plan. I decided that every person who caused me pain would pay for it. William's eyes widened. You killed them? Harper smiled. Yes. The room fell silent. You should have died with them, she continued. But I was afraid the police would start asking too many questions. That's why I kept you alive. William looked as though the world had collapsed around him. All these years, everything was a lie? Harper shrugged. A necessary lie. Then she pointed at me. And now not only you, but your wife and child will die too. A chill crawled down my spine. Suddenly, every piece of the puzzle began falling into place. The deaths, the lies, the manipulation, everything traced back to her. I swallowed hard. What about the man who went to prison for Mark's death? Did he really die? Harper nodded casually. Of course he died. He was planning to expose me. I couldn't allow that. My heart pounded. Then who was the man I met that day? Harper smirked. You still haven't figured it out? He was that man's twin brother, just like your husband has a twin brother. I felt sick. You planned all of that? Harper laughed. I know how much you enjoy digging into other people's business, so I gave you exactly what you were looking for. I wanted to watch you chase the wrong answers. Then another question slipped from my mouth. I thought you were gay. How could you be obsessed with William's father? Harper's eyes narrowed. That's actually a good question. She leaned back in her chair. After he betrayed me, I lost all interest in men. That's when I turned to women. At least women don't betray me. She glanced toward Denise. Everything that happened started with love. Love can make people give each other beautiful things, but it can also turn into obsession. And obsession can destroy everything. The room fell silent once again. The truth was finally laid bare before us, and it was more horrifying than anything I could have imagined. Enough talking, William's twin brother said coldly. Today, you're all going to die. As he spoke, he pulled a handgun from his pocket. Harper's face changed instantly. Have you lost your mind? The man laughed. Lost my mind? His eyes filled with mockery. You really thought we were on the same side? Harper took a step back. We worked together. We had the same goal. He threw his head back and laughed loudly. The same goal? Don't make me laugh. He slowly raised the gun and pointed it directly at her. You planned to use me from the very beginning. Once everything was over, you would have gotten rid of me like a dog. Harper clenched her fists. You're imagining things. No, he replied coldly. I know exactly what kind of person you are. His finger tightened around the trigger. Unlike my idiot brother, I don't trust anyone. Harper suddenly laughed. Then kill me. My life has no meaning anymore anyway. Go ahead and do it. A deafening gunshot exploded through the room. Harper's body collapsed onto the floor. Blood quickly spread beneath her. Mrs. Harper! Denise screamed. Like a madwoman, she threw herself toward him. You bastard, I'll kill you! Without the slightest hesitation, he turned the gun toward her. Another gunshot echoed through the basement. Denise's body jerked violently before crashing to the floor beside Harper. Everything happened in only a few seconds. 2 lives were gone. Just like that. I stared at the horrifying scene, my face pale as paper. My entire body trembled uncontrollably. For the first time in my life, I had witnessed people being killed right in front of me. The smell of blood filled the air. Fear wrapped itself around every part of me. Yet at that moment, I wasn't worried about myself. I was worried about William. I turned to look at him. He glanced back at me calmly. Even now, he was trying to reassure me. I lowered my eyes toward the baby growing inside me. If God had truly decided that the 3 of us would die here today, then perhaps that was simply our fate. Can you kill me instead? William suddenly spoke. But please spare my wife and child. They haven't done anything wrong. His twin brother turned toward him and laughed. Spare them? William's voice trembled. I'm sorry. I got to live a life of comfort while you suffered through misery. We're brothers. We share the same blood. Please let them go. Spare them? The man laughed even harder. That will never happen. His eyes slowly moved toward my stomach. The child in her belly carries your blood. How could I possibly let it live? My entire body went cold. I've tried to kill that baby several times already, he continued. Too bad none of those attempts worked. He smiled like a madman. Maybe it's better this way. You get to watch your wife and child die right in front of you. My heart pounded violently. The twin brother walked toward me and pressed the barrel of the gun against my forehead. "One pull of the trigger," he whispered, "and both your wife and your precious baby disappear forever." He laughed wildly. I closed my eyes. For the first time, I truly felt death standing right in front of me. Then everything happened in an instant. William suddenly sprang to his feet. Somehow, he had managed to free himself from the ropes. Before anyone could react, he drove his foot into his brother's arm. The gun flew across the floor. "No!" his twin brother screamed. William lunged at him immediately. The two men crashed into each other and began struggling violently. My eyes widened in shock. Everything had changed in a single second. The life of my child. My own life. We had been given another chance. "How?" his twin brother shouted. "How did you get free?" William didn't answer. He slammed him to the ground and pinned him there. "You bastard!" the man screamed. "I'll kill all of you! Every single one of you!" I collapsed onto the floor. Tears poured down my face. The feeling of being pulled back from the edge of death made me appreciate life more than ever before. I cried like a child. Leaving that horrifying room behind, I stood there in shock when I finally realized the truth. The large statue inside Harper's room was actually a hidden door leading to the secret basement. According to the police investigation, that underground chamber was being used to store a massive quantity of illegal drugs. The snake tattoo on Harper's wrist was not just an ordinary tattoo. It was the symbol of an international drug trafficking and human trafficking organization. Thanks to the evidence discovered in the basement, the police were able to dismantle the entire network and arrest everyone involved. Although I was finally safe, the nightmares didn't disappear overnight. Many nights, I still woke up trembling from the terrifying memories of everything I had endured. William would hold me tightly in his arms. The warmth of his embrace always made me feel a little better. "It's over now," he whispered. "Try not to think about it anymore." I nodded. "I know." Time slowly healed the wounds in our hearts. Eventually, when the pregnancy reached full term, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy. Our home was filled with laughter once again. For the first time in many years, I felt truly complete. I had everything I could have hoped for: love, family, and peace. One day, I stood in front of Mark's portrait. Tears slowly rolled down my cheeks. "Rest in peace," I whispered. "The person responsible for your death has finally been punished. Kevin and I have found happiness again." William stepped forward and stood quietly before Mark's memorial portrait. After a moment, he spoke softly. "I'll take good care of them. You don't have to worry anymore." I turned to look at William. Our eyes met. In that moment, they were filled with nothing but love. In the end, Elise finally found happiness once again, and this time it was a complete happiness, no longer a happiness left unfinished. After all of her efforts and perseverance, she finally made the monsters wearing human faces pay for their crimes. Somewhere high above, Mark could finally rest peacefully knowing that justice had been served. He would have wanted Elise to live a happy life and have someone by her side to love and protect her. Perhaps William and Elise had been destined for each other since childhood, but fate separated them through life's hardships and unexpected twists. Then, through another series of hardships and unexpected turns, they found each other again and were finally able to be together. It was William's unconditional love that helped Elise believe once more that happiness could return to her life. And above all, their story reminds us that evil will never be tolerated forever. No matter how long the truth remains hidden, those who commit cruel and unforgivable acts will eventually be held accountable for what they have done.